We're running a little bit behind, so we need to move on to our next speaker, and that's Arushi Nath, and she'll talk to us about how she completed her RASC Explore the Universe certificate. Go ahead, Arushi.
So, hello everyone, I'm Arushi, a grade 6 student from Toronto, Canada. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about my travels around the universe in 6 years to complete the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Explore the Universe certificate. So, I started like anyone, all kids. The first thing I learned about astronomy was the nursery rhyme, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, How I Wonder What You Are. And sometimes my school teachers used to tell me some facts, like the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And they told me that moon has different phases. Sometimes you can see the whole moon in the sky, sometimes you cannot see the moon in the sky. But they never told details about each of these facts. And as I became older, I started asking myself questions. Like I knew the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, but I didn't actually know what the east and west were. So the first step towards astronomy I did is to make a compass, and I put it on my balcony. Then I tried to find some landmarks for each direction. For the south, it was easy. As my balcony was facing Lake Ontario, I knew that would always be the south. Then, if it's in the morning when I'm getting ready to go to the school bus, I know that wherever the sun is, it's around the east. And in the evening time, wherever the sun is, it's around the west. So doing this was very fun and it stressed me a lot. So I decided to continue doing this and observe at night as well. So the first thing I learned about was constellations. The first one I learned actually was the Big Dipper and the Cygnus the Swan. Now, I found out that knowing which direction was which was very useful. Because if it said a constellation is in the north, I knew exactly where to look. So this was around the time where I heard about the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. I heard that they were hosting free events on astronomy for anyone to come to. So I decided to go there. So my dad took me to the RASC Bayview Village Park, where I remember a field with many telescopes. I was allowed to look at whichever telescopes I wanted to. Lots of people showed their telescopes on planets. I remember that was the first time that I saw Saturn and its rings. I also learned about lots of rhymes that I could use to do constellation hopping, like Arc to Arcturus, which links the arc of the Big Dipper to the star Arcturus. I was very fascinated at that point, and I started to go to as many events as possible. One of the others I went to was the Ontario Science Centre, where I listened at monthly meetings on astronomy. There, people shared the Sky to Saman presentations or their own journey, like watching solar eclipses or making their own telescopes. In addition, I went to the David Dunlop Observatory, where I looked at a telescope which was several times my size. In the eyepiece, I saw many globular clusters. Actually, I found myself wondering a lot, what would have happened if the Earth was inside a globular cluster? In addition, I went to some lectures on astronomy near my house. I don't remember too much about the lectures, but I remember that's the first time I heard about a star finder. I found out that star finders are used to find where constellations are in the sky. This was very useful for me because in the city there were lots of lights, so I couldn't always see too many stars. Now we're coming to my favorite part, the Car Astronomical Observatory. This was actually a great experience for me because at first I got to do camping and see rocket launches. Then I could look into the telescope to look at sky objects. And I could actually look at sky objects much earlier than in the city because there were less lights around, which permitted me to do much more observations. And this is actually where I found out about the Explore the Universe certificate. I wanted to try it out because it would be a great way to find out which sky objects to look at night. So actually you can see an example of one of them here. And looking at doing all these RASC activities actually changed myself. It made me the me who I am today. Now I am much more observant and looking at the night sky. And actually, the RASC keeps me updated on latest events. For example, the recent one I heard was that actually they found that there was phosphine in the atmospheres of Venus. So this way I can keep up with the latest news. And while I was observing, I found out that the universe is actually never still. It keeps on moving. So if I just glance outside and then come back, I would not be able to see any changes. But if I looked for a longer time, I'd be able to see more changes. Same thing for the Earth. You cannot see changes right away, but if you look for some time, you can see the cars moving or the streetcars moving. So I wanted to know what other changes would there be in the sky. So I wanted to first find out if very quickly there was any changes in only a matter of minutes. This, I found out, could be measured using the movement of the sun's shadow. To measure it, I went in my balcony and I made a sundial using a pencil and kept in the sun. There, I could see the shadow of the pencil. But if I waited for a couple minutes, I'd be able to see the shadow slowly moving. I made some calculations and I found out that the shadow moves 15 degrees every hour. That would make sense because that would mean that in 24 hours it would move 360 degrees, which is correct. Then I wanted to find out some changes happening a bit slower, like every hour. For this, I looked at the moon. This is how the moon moves from one part of the sky to the other. So to see the change, I took a landmark, in this case the CN Tower. And before dinner, I looked at where the moon is. Then after I finished my dinner, I looked at the moon again, and I found out that it had gone to the complete other side of the CN Tower, and it had gone much higher. Next, for cycles in the daytime, I looked at the moon again, but this time it was the phases. I looked at the changes in phases of the moon. But if I looked right away, I wouldn't be able to see anything. That's why it requires some days. So it could go from full moon to new moon, or new moon to full moon. And actually the new moon is actually this night, so the sky is going to be very dark tonight. And I want to find out something happening in a much bigger time, in this case weeks. So this would be two different objects in the sky, coming closer together or going farther together. In this case, I took the moon and Mars as an example. In the first figure, you can see that the moon is much farther than the Mars, and it looks like the Mars is losing the race against the moon. But if I look at it in just 8 days, I'd be able to see that the Mars has overtaken the moon by a lot. And finally, if I want to see changes happening in a very big time, changes happening every month, I could look at new constellations coming in the night sky. For example, right now, I'm able to see the summer triangle made up of three stars, Deneb, Vega, and Altair. That is because this is the summer. But when I'm able to see Orion the Hunter in the sky, I would know that winter is coming because Orion is a winter constellation. So I enjoyed taking all these observations every night. But I was still not satisfied. It seemed that there was something else I could do related to space. And as I believe, the best way to learn fully about a subject is to make a project about it. I thought, why not merge all of my projects with space? So since then, all my projects are related to space. For example, when I went to watch a solar eclipse, I made an instrument to measure the changes happening during the solar eclipse, like the brightness. And I also started attending space-related hackathons, like the NASA Space Apps Challenge. There, I submitted my project, Yes I Can, which takes images from the Canadian satellite, in this case the map of Canada, and turns it into the 150 logo of Canada, or the Canada flag. And after all this, and as I believe, the best way to fully finish a project is that you tell it to people, present it, so that anyone can understand it. So, and as I was looking at the RASC Recreational Astronomy Night every month, I thought, why not make my own presentations there? So since then, this is actually my 12th presentation, but it's my first solo presentation because the rest I've been doing with my brother. I did more outreach about my projects because I wanted all other kids to be more interested in space. As I'm bilingual and speak English and Français, I decided to make outreach in English and French. So, yes. And I actually won some awards in the process, and some of my projects got posted in some newsletters. But after all of this 6 years, I finished the Explore the Universe certificate. The journey was very fun, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning. I am planning on going to the moon next. I've already started taking observations to fill up the master certificate. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.